Once again, back at you. Check this out. Check this out, people. With the whole, I guess, scare that took place this last week, with YouTube, there's one thing I've noticed. There's one thing I've noticed. You know what? And the truth of the matter is this, straight up. When people talk about getting affected by YouTube, getting the channel struck, YouTube removing their videos, channels being completely deleted. This is not something that's been new. This is not new. Number one, YouTube has been on their, I guess, going through their changes. Unless you're in the inner workings of YouTube, Google, YouTube Corporation, one of the most famous terms that I see being thrown around a lot is algorithms. So this is not new. YouTube is, I dare to say, is the best, most successful social media platform to date that we know on this planet. It's, like people say, and the reason why I'm saying this is because people often, I've seen it, even during this last week, for the past 2 years, every time someone from the cryptocurrency space were to experience some type of, an action that was be taken against them, a strike, or receive some type of notice that their channels are getting affected or struck, a lot of them would become upset, would of course naturally, inform their viewers, voice their displeasure, excuse the noise, they would voice their displeasure and talk about how they're leaving YouTube and joining other platforms. None of the other platforms are as successful as YouTube, and I get YouTube had to start somewhere. I remember when YouTube was bought out for $19 million by, I think, two people who created this platform. I guess it was a college kind of thing too, where two guys from college created the YouTube platform and was bought out for $19 million. And I think this was back in 2005 or 6. I'm just freestyling. This is going by memory. My information could be wholly inaccurate, but there's some definitive information that's there, right? So it's become this multi-billion-dollar corporation. YouTube is a monster. Why do you think people become so scared and fearful when they use YouTube, in their partnerships? They'll say it too, that YouTube has become their job, right? YouTube has become their job. They are paid by Google for creating the content that they create. That's the exchange, right? You have some certain personalities who have millions of subscribers, and they, show the spoils for their labor, right? They show, they just, this is what they earn on the 20th of every month. It's been said that those who have, their channels monetized receive earnings from YouTube from thousands to hundreds of thousands of dollars, and upwards of even more than that, right? From just creating content and uploading their content on the YouTube channel. Right now, what other medium, what other social media platform is even doing that? Like, people have to be real. And the reason why I'm saying this again is this, bringing it back to what I was initially trying to say. There's a lot of people who they'll say, no, we got to jump ship. We have to join, you know, a decentralized platform, you know, ban this thing with YouTube, and they're against censorship, they're against free speech and all this stuff and all this great stuff, right? It's cool, and I agree with most of it. The problem that becomes a little bit problematic is when everything kind of blows over, right? YouTube supposedly made an error recently with their crypto ban of YouTube channels. They made an error, so they say. Now some of these, you know, channels, the you know, the creators come back and they're happily, I'm talking about, you could see the elation in their expressions and the tone of their voices. They are so happy that their channels were not removed by YouTube. They are so happy that YouTube issued a statement or made the announcement that, you know, it was a mistake on their part to ban their channels. They are happy. You know why they're happy? You know why they're happy? Because there's no other social media platform that's as large as YouTube. I might say maybe Facebook is, but who cares about Facebook? Facebook doesn't operate the same like YouTube does. No one is talking about Facebook. Forget them. I don't care about that social at all. Outside of that, who's a real competitor? You know, when you go online and you want to look for something, the first thing you're thinking about is I have to Google it. I have to Google it. Let me use the Google search engine, not Yahoo, not Bing, not these other whatever. You know, it's just Google is number one, man. It's number one. So everything has a place. Everything has a purpose. So when these people talk this decentralized talk, they're not keeping it down the middle. They're not being real and genuine with themselves. You could see it because they'll be fired up and angry because their channels are getting struck, their channels are getting removed from you know, the centralized YouTube, I guess, monster. And then when the monster gives them, you know, removes or lifts the ban or lifts the strikes or removes the whatever guidelines, negatives, when they have their channels back, it's everything is all cool, everything is all good again. Everything is all good again. All that centralized, decentralized talk, it minimizes. Sometimes almost it evaporates completely. Because I don't see these other channels, man. Like, and when I say these other channels, I'm talking about the media platforms. I've been hearing about why the social media space should become decentralized, you know, to they sort of mimic the whole cryptocurrency, you know, network effect, if you will, or characteristics that the blockchain offers, you know, where you have something that's permissionless, borderless, censorship resistant, keyword censorship resistant, where you can, you know, upload your content and not have fear of reprisal from any group or any, you know, of the owner of the company taking your video down, taking your channel down. It's you know, it's advantageous for most, and it protects a person's free speech. But when you're dealing with a central authority like YouTube, I'm gonna keep saying it again, and you claim that, you know, this is not good, you know, that this fighting, you know, civil liberties and constitutional rights, and this is what centralization does, and this and that. You're pissed off because your revenue stream got cut. For those who have monetized channels, they're pissed off because their revenue streams got cut, rightfully so. You're pissed off because there are no other channels that can give YouTube a run for their money. There are no other, Twitch, Steam It, BitChute, Float, DLive, DTube. Like, what is the nearest, closest competitor outside of Facebook, which doesn't even, you know, it's not on the equal footing game. It's just Facebook is a different lane. What you know, there isn't right now. So be real to yourselves, people. Be real to yourself. You're not gonna hear me say, you know, first of all, again, this is why it's important to have many streams, multiple streams of revenue and income. My channel is not monetized, but I still do videos because I enjoy creating videos and sharing information, my thoughts, experience, creativity, etc., right? But for those, and that's for me, I don't receive anything from YouTube. My channel's not monetized. That's for one. For and I don't. Those who you could see, they'll just, it shows in their face. They'll be sad. They'll be on the verge of crying, talking about their channels, leaving. They need the help from the subscribers. They need to, create Patreon groups. They need to create, crowdfunding, these different ways to, remain afloat, to take care of their daily needs, to pay their bills, etc., because they depended completely on YouTube, which is again another type of thing where you're an employee and you have some kind of independence, but you still work for the man. You still have to understand your role, that you don't own these channels. It's just a thing where you temporarily, are partnered with a group, with a corporation. You deliver information, and once you amass a certain level of viewership and subscribers, they will flood your channel with advertising, and people, that's how you start to earn your revenue. That's how you start to receive income and checks and this and that. I've heard people just say they can't stand YouTube. They leave for a year and they come right back. I've heard people say they can't stand YouTube. They're gonna join Steemit. They're gonna join Float, BitChute, D Live, all these other channels, and for years now. Except for Float. I didn't hear about Float 2 years ago, but I heard about Steemit back in 2016, 17, D Live, DTube 2017, BitChute around that time too, maybe even 2018. And it's the same narrative has continued with YouTube, and no decentralized social media platform yet has become a contender or has given YouTube real competition, and they know that. They know that. They know they have us by the nuts. They have us by our gonads. They have us by the balls. Pun intended, in every way. So be real. Create a strategy. Know the game. Learn about the game. Learn how to play the game so you win. To say all this extra stuff about, I'm joining. And some other, channels and groups that I watch too, they'll talk about how they're going to join another thing and another platform and this and that, and it all gets rerouted back to YouTube. Like, I remember when YouTube, back in the early mid 2000s, 2005, 6 or 7, Live Leak to me was similar to YouTube. I don't know, I don't hear about Live Leak anymore. That's just, I don't know how that's even, if that even exists. But to me, YouTube and Live Leak were similar before YouTube got bought out by Google. But I just wanted to share those thoughts today, and just because I see how people, they'll say they're leaving YouTube, but the alternatives are, it's, you gotta start, you gotta double back, triple, sometimes even work 4 times as hard to build again. It's already hard to build a new channel on YouTube, right? It's already hard to do that. To build a channel, a second and third channel, to build channels on YouTube is very hard. Now, when you leave YouTube, so far, in my opinion, that's been the most successful media platform, right? And you go join something else that's up and coming or starting or doesn't have the wide reach that YouTube has, you expect to work even harder. You expect to put in more work, more hours, more strategy, more effort to get your channel bubbling again. All right, so that's it. Let me know what you think. But this whole thing with the fear and all that, and that's another thing too. All fear does sometimes is cripple your ability to amass or to see opportunity that's waiting for you. Just enough of all of that. And if you're a viewer, right, and you are fortunate enough to have a channel where it's monetized, okay, then that's a part of that. Start to think about in terms of business. You're an entrepreneur because it's like you're an independent contractor. You're an entrepreneur from a certain standpoint, where now you call the shots, you create your content when you want to create it, etc., etc. You have more of a say, more control, I should say. Try to find ways to protect yourself just in case, you know, things like this happen again from a company like YouTube that's, you know, issuing warnings to cut your stream off, or just completely delete your channel. You know, think about ways where you could protect your assets if you're an entrepreneur, because it's really you and the company. The company is what it is. That's what's sending you the checks. That's what's cutting the checks, right? But then when you have crowdfunding taking place and you have Patreon, it's really, the content is coming all from you. What work are you putting in? You're putting that work in and you're getting it back. So you have to protect what you get back. You have to protect yourself, protect your assets. You know, respect your liabilities, but protect your assets. I'm out.